Hi. Do we have viewers? Not yet. We have a good connection. Let's just wait a little bit.
There's a little wind or something.
That's the fan.
I'm gonna turn off mine.
Should we turn this one over here?
Yeah. It's blowing on the microphone. Let me see if I can. I can't hear the fan.
Okay, good. Hi, welcome. And welcome to our first network live video meditation. This is the first one with the Mystic and the Monk Network. We're so happy to have everyone here and to finally launch the system. And it's a brand new video chat for us, so there may be a little bit of bugs and quirks to it. So please bear with us and feel free to chat in. Allie's monitoring the chats tonight, so if you have any thoughts or any questions, feel free to chat right on in, and we'll get your questions answered. Just a little bit of understanding of how this network works is that just as the previous bi-monthly moon swoons worked twice a month with Allie, now within Mighty Networks, within Mystic and the Monk, we are now having the Wakeful Dreamers group. And so within the Wakeful Dreamers, not only will you have the bi-monthly lunar swoons with Allie, but you also have me twice a month to hopefully take what that the big expansive understanding of the energies for the month, and then taking that and hopefully breaking them down in a little bit more of a practical use for our everyday life. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish today, is be able to start transforming our minds to be able to really utilize these energies that are available. And Kabbalistically, there are energies that are available throughout the month, throughout the year, throughout the week. And the new moons and the full moons are just such valuable assets for us, not only to be aware of what energies are available, but also to be able to put that into practical use for us on a daily basis. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and close your eyes. Let's take a few really good deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Hello, everyone.
And then go ahead and let's go ahead, close your mouth and just breathe naturally through your nose. And let's start really settling into our space, calming our body. And let's start to dissolve and melt away anything external, anything that's happened today or has happened in your week or whatever type of rapid thoughts we've been having. Let's all let them settle away and melt away, and let's kind of really relax into our space. And we'll start to notice as we start to calm the body physically, that the mind starts to calm as well. And it's just a wonderful place to be able to start receiving information, receiving the energy that's available for us this month. With a happy, joyful, open mind. Start to feel that real, joyful, loving mind that we have. Great, thank you. So from this place, let's start. Let's talk about our mind. And one of the things that I posted before this meditation was that nothing exists outside of the mind. And really, what I give you a little bit of an overview of what I'd like to go throughout this hour is really about the mind, about what our mind does throughout the day with these feelings of loss and gain. I want to briefly start talking about our energy winds and how we can start gathering them at the level of our heart. And then, of course, manifestation, because that's really what's available this month, is the ability to really start manifesting our desires and our wishes, right? So let's take a little bit deeper look. And we introduced this last week on our last call about nothing exists outside of the mind, right? But deeply, what does that mean to us? Nothing exists outside of the mind, right? And there were some really interesting comments that we received back regarding that. And this is probably one of the areas that we struggle most, right? Not only do we struggle most about it, but it's probably one of the biggest obstacles that we have in really increasing our spiritual wealth. And the reason being is that we see everything from outside of us. We see things as external. We see things as separated from us. We don't really understand sometimes that our mind is the creation of all, that our mind is creating our experience. And as soon as we start to recognize that our mind is creating our experiences, it is creating how and what we feel, think, say, and do based on outside external objects. The sooner we start to realize that, the sooner we start to recognize that, the sooner we can start eliminating different obstacles or different situations in our life that are creating discontent, dissatisfaction, depression, anxiety, jealousies, any of those types of emotions that we're feeling. So nothing exists outside of our mind, meaning one of the very first things that we can start thinking about is, where do all these feelings come from, right? We see an object, right? We make contact with an object, right? We make contact with the phenomena, like a situation. Someone said something to us. We taste something. We see something. We hear something, right? We smell something. We have this contact with an object or a phenomenon. From that contact, there's a feeling arises. And there's something interesting that I'd like to present tonight that we'll talk more in depth as time goes on. But that feeling that arises functions for one main reason. It functions to allow us to experience our previous actions, right? Interesting. This feeling that arises, I see something, it brings up a feeling. I taste something, automatically brings up this feeling. And that feeling that arises is arisen to function to help me experience my previous karma. Wow, what a thought. Because that thought alone is such a game changer. Because if you have that thought, that's a really difficult thought to have right away, because we're feeling thousands and thousands and thousands times a day. I mean, one last thing that I read, that we have 60,000 plus thoughts a day, of which every thought we have, their feeling arises. So hopefully we can start catching the mind there. That's a powerful mind. And we'll talk about that. But just to start having the recognition or understanding, some of the times when that feeling arises, that feeling is a functioning aspect of my mind to help me experience what I've already have done, or my previous karma, my previous actions. And what that does is it stops this rest of this train of thought that we're going to talk about. And why is this all important that we're talking about it? Because the sooner we can start recognizing some of these minds, the sooner that we can start eliminating and decreasing and reducing some of these negative states of mind, the easier it's going to be to tap into our manifestation, which we all want. We want to be able to manifest our dreams, our wishes, and our desires. So from this thought, this feeling arises, right? And typically what arises is something that we're going to start grasping onto, which is we like it, we don't like it, right? We find it attractive, we find it unattractive, right? Automatically. If you start to recognize your mind, the second you look at an object, the second you taste an object, the second you hear someone say something to you, automatically, it's within an instant, our mind is already saying that's attractive, that's unattractive, or it's neutral. We just don't really care about it, right? And this mind of attractive and unattractive and neutral creates so much separation in our lives, right? It creates that object out there is having me feel a certain way, when the object itself doesn't possess any of those qualities to really make us feel any certain way, but yet we think it does, right? A situation arises, I have a feeling that it's unattractive, I don't like it, I start to push it away, then I start holding onto that object and grasp on it, and I typically from that point will start to blame, and then I'll get angry. And that's just this path that we follow thousands of times a day. And if it's not an anger at the end of the road, before the anger, it's an attachment, right? Our mind starts to absorb into this object. So if we take and recognize that at that feeling, then after that contact, that feeling, that this mind arises, I like it or I don't like it. Or what I really want to talk about tonight is this feeling of gain and loss, right? I'm looking to, ooh, I want that. You know, I have that feeling of an attachment. This is going to make me happy. This is going to give me pleasure. This is going to change my life, right? If I could just meet that person, I'm going to be happy for the rest of my life, right? We've all done these things. If I could just have that really special meal that I want for dinner tonight, if I can get to that restaurant and I can have it and it comes the way I want it, I'm going to be really happy, right? I just had a situation that I was thinking about it because I was preparing for this meditation, and I went with Allie to her parents' 65th wedding anniversary. And Allie knows that carrot cake is one of my favorites. Actually, it is my favorite. And I've been hearing for a long time now that the Nevilles are the master of carrot cake. So I've already had this feeling of wanting to try this carrot cake. It's like my mind is absorbed into it, right? You know, it's like oil mixing with a towel. There's a feeling when we start to absorb into an object. So we go to the lunch or the brunch afterwards, and I'm already looking out for the carrot cake, right? And we go into the drive-in, we park, and I see one of the nieces with a box that she's carrying, and I'm already looking to see whether it's cake or carrot cake or not. Right? My mind is already there, and we do this with so many things. And what I want you to do when you hear this personal story of mine is put your own situation, your own story, equate this to something, because we're constantly looking to gain, or we're constantly pushing away, right? We're pulling or we're pushing. This is what we do all day long in our mind. We just haven't recognized it yet. And what we want to start doing is slowing down to the point of recognizing this, so we don't get to the point of a discontent or a dissatisfaction or anxiety. So we go into the party, and I noticed where the dessert table was, and luckily Allie's there, because I saw a couple of cakes, but it had a different label on it, right? It had a label of, I don't know, like, a croissant something, grocery store. And automatically, my mind is so disappointed, right? Automatically, because I've already been absorbed into this carrot cake. This is something that I really want to taste. I could feel the feeling of loss at that moment. right? And then, of course, I'm reassured by Allie that no, this is the carrot cake, right? And not only was the carrot cake, it was thick, it was huge, it was wide and big. And now I'm thinking, oh, yeah. So already in a moment of seconds, my mind went from this feeling of gain, absorbing into this object. I could feel my mind just wanting it, right? Desiring it. And then having this fear of loss. Oh, no, it wasn't carrot cake. And then, oh, no, it is carrot cake, right? And that is demonstrating that our mind thinks that carrot cake is separate from my mind, that it exists outside of my mind, and that carrot cake possesses those qualities to make me feel that way. And when we get through that, when we start to recognize that, when we start to really reduce that, the other side is pleasure, whether it was carrot cake or not. The other side is joy and happiness. And we don't think it is. We think we have to have this carrot cake for my happiness. That's what our thoughts are, because our mind is looking all day long. What's attractive? What's unattractive? What can I gain? What can I push away? Right? If I don't like something, I'm constantly pushing. And then what we do is we grasp, right? So what I was doing, I was grasping on the carrot cake. Wow, I really want some of that cake. I really want to try it. I've heard so much about that cake. I want to try how tasty it is, right? We like tasty things. Things that are tasty is what we want. So it's this constant. So on this understanding of our mind, that this feeling arises, right? All that function was for me to experience my previous karma. If I can think about that at the time I'm having my thought, none of the rest of the trail, none of the rest of that rapid thought will exist, right? So where are we going to catch our mind? We're going to catch it during the contact, at the time of feeling, the time that we start looking at attractive, unattractive, the time of the gain or the loss, at the time of grasping on it. And then when we grasp on, we typically blame, because if that wasn't carrot cake, I was looking to blame somebody at that party. Where's the carrot cake that I've heard so much about? And then the discontent, right? Or I get that carrot cake. And then when I get the carrot cake, right, I get an attachment to it. I absorb so much into that cake that now I can't wait to the next one. And the funny thing about our desires, they never come in the way we want them. We live in a world of desires. This is a realm of desires. Our lesson in this realm is to understand not to be attached to our desires. And not to be attached to their desires is such a wonderful freedom in this realm. Wonderful, wonderful freedom. When we start to manage, because it's tough to say no longer, but we start to really manage our lack of attachments or more unattachments, then things become way more pleasurable. Things become way more enjoyable. So we're going to talk a lot about that train of thought throughout these courses. We may even do a full course on that. But I also want to point out something that happens at that time. And this is energetically. What's also happening is that there are energy winds, right? Some people call it our aura. In Buddhism, it's energy winds. Kabbalistically, it's winds that our minds travel on. And what happens is, it's not only are we absorbing into the object, not only are we pushing away with aversion to an object, but our winds are so sticky, or they're so like a magnet that's rebelling or attaching, right? And give me an example how this works so we can understand these energy winds, because we really want to start getting into understanding because we're energy beings, right? What is our energy actually doing? And if you're in meditation and you sit down and you start to gather your winds together, right? At the level of your heart, you start to really get into the meditation. You start to really feel the experience beyond your senses. But then a motorcycle rides by. You'll find that your energy wind that's attached to a mind hears the motorcycle and then follows it all the way down the street, right? So there's a feeling of being pulled out by that sound, right? And if you ever concentrated, any type of concentration, reading a book concentration, zoning in during sports, and then having a loud sound or having something to disrupt that concentration and pulls you out of it. It's pulling your energy that you've gathered your wins. And if you pull your energy out, it can be painful. And it could also be very draining. So what's happening all day long, because I was so sticky to that carrot cake, there was some energy when it was pulling towards that carrot cake, right? Then I had the carrot cake pulling, and I had what other situations with family that was pulling, and I had my own personal things going, and I have all these things going out. That's what creates such anxiety and tiredness in our lives. But the feeling of gathering all that energy, right? Some people call it leaky energy. Some people call it, low aura, low light, heaviness, right? Ali called it this week a real heaviness. But the lightness is a concentrated mind that takes those energy winds and concentrates them, gathers them up at the level of heart. And that's why during our meditations, that's what we're doing. We're gathering our winds at our level of our heart. And that's when the light starts to shine. And no matter if carrot cake is out here, no matter if a motorcycle sound is out here, no matter if a family member is being annoying and saying something out here, if I can maintain my energy winds inward, that's enlightenment, that's liberation, that's a lack of grasping. Because those energy winds are very sticky, right? They stick. And what I mean by that is, if you ever had a situation where you believe someone's wronged you, right? Have you ever been driving down the freeway, and especially in California, driving down the freeway, and somebody cuts you off, right? And have you ever had the experience of driving in California? This is a daily event, right? Or almost slams in the back of you, right? But let's say that person cuts you off, right? And almost causes you to have an accident, right? Now, if you have that feeling arises of anger or being upset, if you can understand that feeling functions because I've done that sometime in my life, this life or previous lives in the past, it'll change the way the thought process and the mind and the repetition goes, right? And we'll dig in deeper on that later on. But just to kind of make this point is that sticky wind is now with that car that just cut me off. And it stays there because I'm going to go to work and I'm going to start telling the people at work, hey, this crazy person cut me off today, almost killed me on the highway. And then I'm going to tell that story over and over and over again, right? Or someone did me wrong, or someone said something to me. And all day long, I'm telling people about the situation that occurred to me. And what happens is that mind sticks on that item or that situation or that phenomenon or that object. And it stays out there. And what we want to start doing is unstick those situations, right? We want to unstick them. We talk about situations that happen to us, let's say a divorce or a loss of relationship or being fired from work, and we tell the story over and over. We grasp so tightly on these stories because our wind is stuck to it. And if we can start gathering those winds back in, and we can do this to meditation, right? And this next the meditation that we're going to do is the hollow body meditation. And we did it last week, and I want to do it again because it's so powerful. It's so relaxing. But what it does, more importantly, it gathers all those winds that we've got stuck out there, and all those different situations, and all those different realms, and all those different past lives, and all those different countries and states, because that's really reality. Reality is that I could close my eyes right now, and I could be in that cafe in France, right? I can see it. I could smell the baked goods. I could see the people. I could see the maitre d'. I could be there, right? But then I had a really bad cold cup of coffee, and I've stuck there. And I can't forget that cold cup of coffee in my cafe in France. And I look forward to that for years. And it's stuck. Well, I want to draw that back in and stop grasping on that story, that mind of movement over and over and over again, because that's what's keeping us from manifesting. That's what's keeping us from manifesting. What's keeping us from manifesting is having all that energy out when we need to gather it in. And what we're going to be able to do is have that experience now to feel, hopefully, whether it's for a second, whether you have a taste for it for just a moment, is my wish that we can have that meaningful taste and understanding of that, because as we can start recalling that more often, not only on our cushion, but of course off the cushion. So let's go ahead and do that meditation, because it's so powerful. It's so relaxing. And my wish is that, and I invite everybody on this call to be able to go into this meditation as often as you can until we meet again, to be able to get familiar with that feeling of gathering those winds, right? And then projecting that energy out in a different way, not in a leaky way, not in an individual way, not in a separate way, not in an external way, but in a strong gathering of energy way, right? Because that's the place we want to be for the manifesting. So go ahead and find a really good, comfortable position. It's always nice to have a nice, straight, upright back. It helps the breathing, it helps the concentration. Have your hands in a comfortable position. I like to keep my hands in my left hand up with my right hand on top, my thumbs touching, and then I relax that in my lap. It's a concentration posture. I like to have my shoulders back, dip my chin, close your eyes, or just have a little bit of light coming in. A little bit of light coming in underneath the eyelids will help your mind from wandering or falling asleep. And take 3 really good breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. And close your mouth. Let's just breathe naturally. And we just want to feel the inhale at the tip of our nose. And then feel the little warmer sensation with every exhale. Just start observing the breath. Feel the cold sensation in, the warmer sensation out. And let's really start feeling our body, this physical vehicle of ours. Let's feel if there's any pain, any discomfort, the heaviness. And let's take a look at a little bit of a scan of our body, right? And then we'll start at the top of our head. Let's view the skeleton, the brain, travel down to the spine, and your chest. Let's see all the organs, your heart, right? And the blood flowing, the breath's moving. We want to get a good picture of this solid, fixed, and firm body that we have. What it feels like. See it in your mind's eye. Your arms and the skeleton of your fingers, the muscles and the tendons that are attached to the bones. All your organs in your stomach and thighs and calf, all the way down to your feet. Use your imagination. Because what we're going to do next is we're going to dissolve this body, the inside of it. So we can really start to relax and gather our winds inward. So after you have this mental image of our body, the heaviness, some of the aches, the pains, and some of the discontent of the mind. Some of the feelings that are dissatisfaction, or maybe a little anxious, maybe even depressed. And then we start to imagine that we have this skin, but nothing else inside. We're going to dissolve all that skeleton, the bones, the muscles, the tendons, the blood, the organs. So we're going to just dissolve them. That's why our imagination is so beautiful. We can go where we want. We can do what we want. We can help us gather our winds and feel so relaxed. So we start from our heart, inside our chest. We start to look around with white light. Right? Like you have a little flashlight inside it, and you start to notice that it's hollow in here. And you take that white light and from the heart, you travel up through your neck and into your head, and you notice that the skeleton's gone, the brain's gone, everything's gone. It's hollow. And if you would holler at this point, you can just hear an echo. And you want to keep exploring. So we go back through the neck, down each arm, and it's just skin. Nothing's there. No more fingers. No more little tendons that wrap around each finger. They've melted away. And we start to become more and more relaxed. The aches and pains start to just fade away, disappear. And our breath is just traveling so easily. And down through our chest and our stomach, and then all the way down our legs to our feet. All that's left is the skin, nothing inside. And now with this amazing imagination, we can make our skin translucent. I feel that we're just more energy. There's nothing solid left. Imagine if I would walk up to you, I can put my hand right through you. And you can start to feel the relaxation, but also the powerfulness. Because that light starts to shine from your heart. It just starts to radiate. And let's change that white light into this beautiful golden light. And we can all through our translucent skin, we can feel this warmth, this steady, expansive, strong, brilliant, golden light start to shine. You also notice that there's just a feeling of joy, a feeling of happiness, contentment, blissfulness. So let's just spend a few moments with this beautiful golden light that's radiating within this translucent skin. Let's just spend a few moments and just enjoy this feeling of happiness, this feeling of contentment, of peace. Because we've gathered our winds at the level of our heart that's shining this beautiful golden light. And that concentration is so peaceful, so enjoyable. Let's spend a few moments really feeling that joy, that happiness. And with this feeling of this joyful feeling that we've created, the gathering of our winds, relaxation, the calmness, the peace. Now let's share it with others. Let's take that beautiful golden light and let's just shine it through that translucent skin. And let's share it with our family that are immediate in our household. Let's share it with our neighbors. Right? Let's think of individuals that we can give this beautiful, loving warmth of golden light of love and compassion, kindness. Let's share it with people in our state. Let's expand that light throughout the country that you're in. The whole country is just blanketed with this beautiful golden light that you're shining out. And why stop there? Let's just share it with the world. All sentient beings. Let's give them love and compassion. So let's just spend the last few moments just feeling, giving this beautiful, intense, golden light with the whole universe, with all sentient beings. Let's give them our compassion and love. The last few moments, feel that amazing expansiveness of our gathered energy. So when you're ready, relax your concentration and open your eyes. So the ability to gather our winds inward allows us then to share with compassion and love. Instead of having individual stickiness, grasping, and other feelings that are always out there and attached, it makes it more difficult to affect others. And we have the ability to be able to affect others, not only when we're on a cushion, but if you can take that feeling, if you generated that feeling of peace, love, and compassion for all sentient beings, the more you get familiar with this meditation, the more you'll find moments off the cushion generating that same feeling. Generating, instead of having a sticky energy to a situation, like absorbing into carrot cake, right? Wanting that, right? So, or getting upset about a situation that has occurred, like someone cutting me off on the highway or saying something to me. If I can gather and keep that energy, that strength, then I'll reply differently, right? I'll reply with silence. I'll reply with compassion. I'll reply with kindness because wasn't sticky in the situation. I didn't allow that energy to be pulled from me, or I didn't also try to pull it towards me. Right? It's this push and pull that we do all day long, and when we can start recognizing that, so we can start to decrease the moments of that. And I've had people over the years ask, well, how do I know if it's working? Well, you'll know because you'll say to yourself, wow, typically I would have responded or reacted differently, right? I would have gotten upset, but I'm not upset now. Wow. I would have um, told that, grasped on that situation and told that story a million times, and I let it go. I didn't grasp on it. It wasn't sticky at all. The stickiness goes away. And that way we don't get stuck on that repetition of thought. And that's the basis of a lot of our suffering. And it all comes from our mind. It all comes from believing that the objects and phenomena and situations that are outside of us exist separate, firmly, and external from me. That my mind had nothing to do by bringing that situation into existence. But the true game changer is to understand that whatever arises in my life, whatever arises, whatever I taste or see or smell or hear, whatever arises in my life, the feeling that arose has function for me to experience my previous actions, my previous karma. And then you can ask yourself, if you have that thought, can you attach to that situation? Can you get angry at that situation? Could you be discontented or dissatisfied with that situation? Ever? No. But that takes practice. And what we can do is through that repetition of a thought, right? Maybe it takes you now a day to understand, or a month that you've been grasping on a situation, that the energy has pulled you, and then you recognize it and you start to eliminate it or reduce it. And then maybe the next situation you can catch it at the time that you're blaming, right? You start to blame the guy who cut you off in front of you and realize, well, no, that's really my previous karma, right? Or it really wasn't carrot cake, it was cookies from Vaughn's, and I had to accept that's my previous karma, right? It's something so simplistic as that. It's simple, but it's so profound when you really think about what we're doing in our life, and we can catch it there. Then I won't go on to attachment or anger. Or maybe we catch it at the time we start to grasp, at the time we start to want to pull it in or push it out, right? Where that energy starts to stick to that object, right? Or then we really back up, and then maybe it takes us only a second to catch it. Wow, this feeling that has arisen, it functions for me to experience my previous actions, and the rest of that trail will not exist. And the more that we can meditate on gathering our wins, right, keeping it inward, right, keeping the energy to build and to shine, will keep it, this individual energy floating out or this leaking out from us, right? So my wish is that you'll practice this meditation. It's really powerful. And the nice thing about meditation is that what it does to function, it functions for us to start becoming familiar with certain minds. So when you're experiencing difficult minds, challenging minds, that you can call that feeling of that powerful relaxation, right? If you have one moment, one taste, 1 second, 1 minute of feeling this feeling of joy and happiness without grasping, what you're feeling is the true freedom of life. If you want freedom in life, we learn to stop grasping and giving this energy away freely, right? By attaching the stickiness of it. Stop grasping when what happens is that when it starts to gather and stay inside, we don't grasp, it's freedom. It's peace. And a concentrated mind is peaceful. And the more you practice meditation, whether it's formal, sitting down, whether it's laying in bed, whether it's looking at the clouds as you're walking, whether it's quiet time, sitting, whatever it may be, when you start to get more familiar with that mind and what it feels like, you'll be able to recall that mind during any challenging situation, or any time that you feel your mind absorbing into an object. right? To finish my story was, then after the party, we didn't have time to actually have the carrot cake. But then I found myself in the back seat of the car with this huge, enormous slice of carrot cake. And then I really had to give myself a thought. Do I take just a little bite or do I devour the whole thing, right? So, and it was such a great experience because I can feel my mind throughout that day, a feeling of this gaining, absorbing into this object, and how damaging that is for my life. So, I gave you some things to think about. I gave you some things to meditate on. We're definitely will go in deeper into a lot of these subjects that I brought up today. Um, but the main thing that I really want you to take away is really keep deeply thinking about that nothing exists outside of the mind. And if you made the connection yet, because it takes time sometimes for the karma to arise, to really deeply feel that everything that presents itself in my life, everything that I feel, right, is been created by my mind. And I know we want to debate that, and that's wonderful. We do want to. Like Buddha said, uh, don't believe anything I say, but test the practices like you would test gold. See if they function. And I know for the many years that I've been teaching, that I know typically the progression that we go on, right? I know our minds typically, but I also do know that if you practice them, right? If we start to think, does this exist outside our minds? It's separate from me. It's external. Does this object have the ability to make me feel a certain way? When we start to start analyzing that way or contemplating that way, it functions. It will function, and it will start to reduce some of these challenging minds that we have. And I always like to say, take it as your working hypothesis, right? Don't believe anything, but take it as a working hypothesis. Does everything exist outside of my mind, right? Now, like you would do with a science project, let's go test it, right? And through these meditations, we're going to keep exploring over and over again how things don't exist outside of our mind and how we are completely in control of our true reality and that we're really not seeing things how they truly exist. And as we start removing those layers, you'll find that peace and happiness that we all search for, because we all have one thing in common. No matter who we are, we all have one thing in common, whether we are the poorest of the poor or the richest of the rich or the happy, whoever we are, the entire world, we have one thing in common. We all want to be happy and free from our suffering, all of us. And these meditations, these energies that are available, that Ali is so eloquently presents to us during the new moons and full moons, right? We can take those energies, we can practice them, practically practice them in these type of meditations, and then watch them function in our lives to reduce our anxiety, depressions, discontent, dissatisfactions, jealousies, pride, all the displeasures that we have in our life, and as well as all the attachments, things that we can't let go of. So, yeah. So my wish is that you would practice this. I think that we'll continue on this hollow body energy meditation, and understand that the repetition and the familiarity with it is really what makes it function. So we need to hear things over and over, and we need to check our mind. right? We need to constantly check on our mind. And one of the things that's so interesting in our world today is that ask yourself, how many times do you check your cell phone in a given day? How many times do you check your cell phone, right? I think last I heard was 100 and, I don't know, 20, 30 times a day we check our cell phone. How many times do you check in your mind, right? Start checking your mind as much as you check your cell phone. Or a little trick that I did when I started was that every time I check my cell phone, I think about checking my mind. Because I know if I did that, then I'll spend at least 100 plus times a day checking my mind, right? And checking my mind meaning, are things existing outside of my mind, right? Does this object, this phenomenon that's occurring, does it have the ability to make me feel a certain way? Does this person have the ability to make me feel this way? I want to blame them always. I want to blame the object always. I want to blame. But does that person, place, or thing have the ability to make me feel a certain way? That's checking your mind. Check the mind as much as you check your cell phone and see how that functions. Okay, how about any questions? So, any thoughts, any constructive criticisms, any words I may have used tonight that we have found that need more explanation? Please feel free to chat in. Ask any questions you may have. Allie, any chat questions?
What is grasping?
Okay, good one. What is grasping? Grasping is we grasp on an I that we think that we believe exists. So I believe that my thoughts and feelings are so the center of the universe, are so important. And what I seem to do is I grasp on this thought or this concept, right? And then what I do is I cherish it. So I'm grasping on this person that I think exists. And we'll definitely have deeper conversations on grasping and self-cherishing, because cherishing this I. But basically, I'm believing that the situation is external. I'm believing that the object outside of me is fixed and firm and separate. And it's causing me to feel a certain way. And then I hold on to that tightly. I grasp onto that feeling tightly, right? And I hold it. And I tell the story, and I have repetitious thought, and then I blame and I get discontented. So the grasping, when an I, thinking that this I, this David, this my being is so important, and I grasp tightly to hold my view, right? It's almost a feeling of needing to be right, right? Just as one example. And I'm going to hold tightly to my view of being right. And then I'm going to grasp on that view to where I'll shut down and probably a lot of times not even listen to anyone else's opinion on it, right? Or another view, another way of looking at it, because it's my truth. And I grasp on that tightly, right? So for me, my mind, when something arises and I start to absorb into the object, or I start to push away an object, I feel this feeling of gain or loss. I really, in my mind, I can start feeling this holding, grasping onto that situation. And it's a feeling physically of also becoming tighter, right? And what I'm grasping on is I'm grasping on this I that doesn't exist. right? And we can spend years and talk about grasping and the cherishing of this I. But at this moment, it's just that feeling of wanting to hold tightly to my belief, my view, my my rightness, right? My prideness, my um, uh, what I believe is what I need and desire in my life. I'm going to grasp tightly instead of welcoming and having it come freely, right? And with patience, allowing it to arise wholeheartedly, whatever it may be, without the grasping, and you'll find that life become way more enjoyable, way more peaceful, way more pleasurable. And we will spend a lot of time going deeper and deeper into this grasping and what we cherish and grasp and hold on to. I hope that was helpful. Anything else? Any other questions, Allie?
I think that's good.
Okay.
Wait.
Wait. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
What is being empty?
What is what?
Being empty.
Being empty?
Yep.
Let's it's not it's an emptiness. It's not empty like you have a purse and there's no money in your purse, so it's empty of money. Emptiness is a state beyond all senses. It's the ultimate state of true reality, of the true nature. It's a natural law of all things, and we will, as we progress, we will spend a lot of time um, exploring emptiness. Um, it is a feeling of great bliss and peace when we start to recognize that all it's being able to take that one deeper step of nothing exists outside of the mind, because of all objects, their inherent nature is truly emptiness, that nothing is really fixed and firm, and nothing exists in the way that it appears. And the true nature, the way of this appearance is really emptiness. The way true things are, the true nature of appearance of things. That's enlightenment, and that's what we'll keep exploring much deeper. And we could spend years on that subject, and we'll certainly touch on it, and we'll certainly have courses on emptiness as well. But great question. And I actually happen to be an emptiness junkie, so I will love to share and have these discussions on emptiness. Anything else, Allie?
We're good.
We're good. Thank you so much for joining our first live chat or live video meditation and Mystic and the Monk. My sincere wish is that you've heard something meaningful tonight that you can put into practice. And I hope to see you on our next call. So thank you.